Hi, I'm Kent Jensen from KentCoach.com. I hope you're having a terrific and wonderful and successful day. I wanted to talk to you about something that, in my experience, as I've worked with businesses and as I've interacted with businesses, I've noticed that a lot of business leaders, a lot of people don't know how to give corrective feedback, how to give effective feedback. And that stems from the fact that as a society, we value and we think that transactional leadership is how leaders should act and how leaders should be. So today we're going to be going over how to give effective feedback and how to coach up your employees to where you're going to be able to get the best out of them. Now, feedback is essential. You're not going to grow without it. Now, you're going to need to use it for realignment. Anytime somebody is out of alignment from core values, core principles, you need to help them readjust. Now, the key to this is communication. Now, better conversations and better communication leads to better relationships. Better relationships lead to better output. And that's true in any facet of your life, whether that's your personal relationships, your personal friendships, or at work. The more apt of a communicator you are, the better you can communicate, the more clear you can communicate, the more output you will get, the more the other person feels recognized and will give you, basically, you're going to find an effective way to communicate. Now, I recently found myself at an event put on by the Idaho Business League. It was a great event. A lot of businesses came together. People had booths. They also did seminars as part of this. One of the seminars was put on by the Small Business Administration. Now, this seminar was about gauging the health of your business. Now, as we talked and she gave a wonderful presentation, the people interacting, we started interacting, we got to a part where we were talking about culture. Now, as part of culture, she expressed the importance of giving recognition and giving feedback. And one of the people in the crowd said, to effectively give recognition and feedback, you should do it at least once a week. That's something I wholeheartedly agreed with. Now, from there, the conversation took a turn to where I didn't quite agree with what everyone was saying. I tried my best, but sometimes, people aren't really ready to listen and learn. So how the conversation got shifted, somehow we got on the topic of giving corrective feedback. From giving recognition to corrective feedback, I don't know how we got there, but we did. One gentleman raised his hand, and this gentleman, as happy as he could be, said, and this is his exact words, "I rip into my guys and then I build them back up." And I immediately thought to myself, rip into them? Wow, that's a little extreme. And then he continued to say, yeah, and even sometimes they thank me for it after I'm done. And in my mind, I thought maybe one, maybe two people have done this, but I doubt that's the majority. And I also thought in my mind, this person has peaked. There's no more success. There's not another level he can achieve until he opens his mind and learns how to give effective feedback. Okay. The next person to speak was a business consultant. Now, this room was filled with business consultants like me. We had some overlapping, interests and things of that nature. And then the majority was business owners. And I would say a very, very small minority knew how to give feedback, while the large majority didn't. This consultant, she recommended compliment, corrective feedback, compliment. I call this a shit sandwich, okay? Not because it's effective or, you're giving corrective feedback in the middle and people think that's shit. I think it's shit because it's not effective. Now, let me explain to you why these two ways of giving feedback are very counterintuitive and very ineffective. Now, as we mentioned before, praise and recognition are powerful tools. Now, when you're giving recognition and you're giving praise, that can be difficult too, because a lot of times we tend to praise the results. Good job on bringing that account in, or good job on making that sale, or good job on closing X amount of dollars of business. And what we should be focusing on the effort that people give. Good job on the effort you did. We can see the fruits of your labor, but that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't worked hard. The more you praise and recognize effort, the more people are going to see that as the valuable thing to do, as opposed to the numbers. When you start focusing on numbers, people cut corners on the effort. People do things that are less ethical because they want to get the number as opposed to giving the effort to achieve that. Now, business as in life, sometimes you win, sometimes you fail, okay? But if the effort is there and you're praising the effort, you're going to get that same effort regardless if you're failing or winning. And more often than not, you will win as long as the effort is there. So now that we've established how valuable recognition is and why it's so valuable, it diminishes its value when you put that recognition by corrective feedback. So for example, in our first instance, when you rip into somebody, you're creating a negative emotional reaction. Okay? So whatever you say after that isn't going to have any effect. Okay? You've already created anger, you've already created shame, you've already created hopelessness. These are emotions we're looking to avoid. And what we're looking to do is communicate emotions like hope, pride, and excitement. Okay? Now, as with the second way, compliment, feedback, compliment, it diminishes those compliments. They no longer have the value that they need. And they no longer carry the weight that you want them to carry as far as expressing recognition, recognizing effort, and showing appreciation. So now not only are you not effectively giving feedback to where they're going to correct their behavior, but you've also just thrown away a very valuable tool in your management tool belt. And that is the tool of, appreciation, recognition, that type of thing. So that being said, we've talked about two ways that people use that are very common as far as using for corrective feedback. And we've established why those are ineffective and why you're not going to get the best results. So now let's focus on how to give good feedback. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about leadership. Now, when you're doing anything that is leadership related, you want 3 outcomes. And this is how your leadership will be judged. Okay, did that leadership create the extra effort from your subordinate? Okay, was it contributing to individual, unit, or organizational effectiveness? And are they satisfied with leadership? Okay, so those 3 areas. Now, looking back, if somebody rips into you, are you going to be satisfied with leadership at the end? No. You might give a little bit of extra effort, but that effort will not last. It's not something that's going to be continued. Organizational effectiveness, that's 50-50 with, like I said, how they react. They could react begrudgingly and do it, or they could just give you eyewash and say they're going to do it and do things worse and continue to repeat the same mistakes over and over. So in order to transform yourself to becoming a transformational leader, there's 4 areas that are essential. They are coaching, which is individualized consideration, authenticity, which is idealized influence, insight, which is inspirational motivation, and then innovation, which is intellectual stimulation. So in those 4 areas, if you focus on each area individually, break them down into subcategories, and work on each talent, you'll be able to become a transformational leader as opposed to a transactional leader, somebody who just deals in rewards and punishments. But you will achieve all 3 of the desired outcomes of leadership. Now, when it comes to feedback and being able to accomplish that and be able to give somebody corrective feedback and then still have them satisfied with leadership, I created a simple form. Anybody interested in the form, I will email it to you. It's free, no charge. If you need help as far as practicing, we can schedule some time and I will role play with you, whether it's over the phone, Skype, or if you're in the Treasure Valley, come see me. So on this form, it has an area for, putting names, that type of thing. And then when we get down below, it has instructions for structuring the interview. Now, I don't have them memorized. I'm going to read them to you because I want to have them as accurate as possible. The first step is research the issue. Use cognitive empathy to focus on their point of view and check any implicit biases you may have by finding specific examples of their behavior. Okay? And this is something that I have experience with on the negative side. I had a subordinate once. This subordinate was less than honest with me on a regular basis, okay? Which led to me being hypersensitive about every little thing, to the point where I would accuse him of lying and everything would blow up. And so if I just would have remained calm, kept track of specific instances, from there sat down and had a constructive conversation with him, things might have turned out differently, but I didn't. I was emotional, I was irrational, and it showed in my leadership, and I did not get the desired outcomes. So the next step number 2, is what is your mood? Okay? Now, emotions are a contagion. Avoid performing feedback when feeling the following emotions: anger, shame, boredom, anxiety, and hopelessness. Do try to express the following emotions: hope, pride, and excitement. And this is important because if you're angry, that other person will immediately feel defensive. If you're shaming them, same thing. The idea is we want to separate the person from the problem. Okay? People make mistakes. And if your organization is okay with that, that is great. The organizations that aren't okay with people making mistakes, that create a culture of fear, that's when we start having problems. That's when people stop receiving feedback. That's when it just becomes everyone for themselves. Okay? We lose all team cohesion. Everyone's worried about saving their own butts. Okay? So the next step is, now we're going to involve the person we're giving the feedback to, whereas before it was just focusing on ourselves, researching, getting all our ducks in a row, understanding, checking any implicit biases, and then checking our mood and being able to be in the proper mood to give feedback. So the next step, now we're ready, we're going to ask the employee to listen first, and then also explain that you will be expecting them to give you feedback. Okay? And then number 4 is communicate your views. 5 is ask for a restatement. 6 is ask for a commitment. And 7 is promise a follow-up. Okay? So I am going to go through the next part, which is a kind of a hypothetical coaching situation, corrective feedback situation. And I might do both voices. I'm a little crazy like that. I might just not, okay? So let's invite somebody in. Hey, John, I wanted to talk to you about the lack of effort I saw with this account. Now, I've observed that lately you haven't been giving the same amount of effort that you normally give. Now, you're usually putting forth maximum effort, and that's what I've learned to expect from you, and you do a good job. It's just recently something has changed, and I'm concerned about this because as a company it could affect us with clients or as far as efficiencies with your coworkers. Now, what are your thoughts on how the lack of effort has been affecting your overall success and our overall success as a company. And then from there, listen. Don't interrupt. Don't intercede. Don't interject. Let them talk. Give them a good amount of time to talk. At this point, you're not thinking of your reply. You're not thinking of anything other than what are they trying to communicate to me? What am I trying to understand? What is their perspective and why am I receiving a lack of effort? You know, a lot of times people will present an objection, which isn't the true source. So that's why listening is important, because eventually they're going to get to the source and the root of the problem. Okay. Now, the next step is to follow up with them. Does this align with our core values as a company? And if you've properly communicated your core values and everyone knows those core values and how it influences your everyday work, they should be able to answer that question. And it should be fairly simple. You know what? My lack of effort is because I have some personal things going on and I was hoping not to let it affect my work, but I understand where you're coming from and it affects our core values because we're here as a team, and if I can't do my part, I'm letting my team down. Okay? You see how this person understands the core values, understands the importance of teamwork, and how everyone has to do a part. Everyone has to put the effort. So from there, you know, you can find out like if there's anything you can do to help them. You know, personal issues are tough to deal with at work because there's not really much you can do, but there's, you know, certain things you can do as far as recommending how to de-stress properly or things of that nature, or be able to refocus in a different way, refocus your energies. Now remember, as a leader, your job is as much mentor as it is anything else. And helping people achieve their purpose is the end goal. Now, from there, you know, you want to explain how if this continues, how it's going to affect the company, how it's going to affect our core values. And you get a commitment from them to, like in this instance, give extra effort, and then, you know, a follow-up time will be, you know what, let's meet again in a week and let's see what kind of progress we've had. So from there, I'm able to communicate hope, pride, and excitement. Now, I know you're wondering how you can go from corrective feedback, how somebody can feel proud about being corrected. That all boils down to mindset. Okay? There's two types of mindsets. There's people with a growth mindset and people with a fixed mindset. Now, I would say majority of people have fixed mindsets. Even the people who are growth minded sometimes have fixed tendencies. Now, as a leader, if you're somebody who is of the growth mindset, your subordinates, your direct reports will reflect that. If you have a closed mind, if you have a fixed mindset, they will reflect that as well. So tying this all together, your mindset is important when giving feedback. If you're open to them giving you feedback and them helping you, they will be open to you giving them feedback. And then from there, when things arise that we need to correct, we can do it in an effective manner that's not going to inhibit them in any way. They're not going to feel dissatisfied with your leadership. They're going to give you extra effort. You're going to have improved organizational effectiveness, and they're going to feel satisfied with leadership. Now, if you guys have any questions about mindset, about giving effective feedback, or just emotional intelligence in general from a business standpoint, feel free to reach out, email me, KJ at KentCoach.com. let me know how I can help you. Thank you and have a great day.